And tonight, only on 4, it's the Metro's only group home serving our most at-risk youth. And now, CYFD wants to shut it down. If this place doesn't exist, the only other option is hospitalization.
Our Megan Abundis talked with CYFD about the plan to close it. Megan, this place has been under investigation now for the past 2 years.
It has. There are serious allegations at Desert Hills. Those include injured staff and children. CYFD officials say the group wasn't reporting serious incidents to the department. That's led to a cease and desist, and the facility has 90 days to shut down or appeal.
Probably the most significant at-need kids in our communities.
Those kids go to Desert Hills. More than 100 kids are at the group home on Albuquerque's west side right now. They could struggle with emotional, behavioral, or substance abuse problems. However, last year KOB investigated and found there were dozens of assault and battery calls made there. Police lapel video and reports reveal youth provoked nearly all the assaults. Oftentimes, staff members were the ones getting hurt. There were also reports of teens smoking marijuana, getting into fights, or having sex.
For a residential treatment center to be therapeutic, it has to be safe.
Back in September 2017, CYFD wouldn't let any more kids into Desert Hills, and the facility had to come up with a corrective action plan. But then just this past April, CYFD restricted the home even more. However, Desert Hills still had a license to operate and treat kids.
Our hope was that they would be able to make the necessary changes to keep kids safe in their institution, also treat them effectively.
Apparently that didn't happen because now CYFD is pulling the facility's license and certification. Again, CYFD tells us Desert Hills staff was not reporting serious incidents and the department couldn't ensure anyone inside the home was safe. CYFD says they are working to transfer those 100 plus kids into different programs.
My guess is that it, will put some stress on our communities and our families.
It seems Desert Hills officials disagree with CYFD's findings. The CEO released a statement saying in part, "We continuously review our patient programs and have made multiple program enhancements over the last 6 months." Desert Hills has options. Officials can negotiate solutions with CYFD, appeal the cease and desist order, or go ahead and close. We have requested the complete report from CYFD and are awaiting those results. Megan Abundis, KOB Eyewitness News 4.
The state's plans to shut down a youth residential treatment center has a stressed out mom even more stressed out tonight.
Desert Hills serves the Metro's area's most at-risk youth. It's been under investigation, though, for the past 2 years. And just last week, we told you CYFD says the facility has too many problems to stay open.
Our Megan Abundis is here with what mom is worried about. Megan.
The woman's 13-year-old daughter is getting treatment at Desert Hills. She says without Desert Hills, her daughter would probably be in juvenile detention.
When she was younger, was a really, really good kid. We had her in 4-H. She used to help me on the ranch.
Rhonda Talavera says one day her 13-year-old daughter's behavior flipped.
She was smoking marijuana, and then it turned from smoking marijuana into getting into fights at school, and then it ballooned from there. It got crazy and quickly.
Talavera says her young daughter was sexually active, hurting herself, using different drugs and drinking. They tried counseling, therapy, and youth meetings. Desert Hills was their last hope.
A godsend, because if not, we were going to end up losing our kid to some kind of a juvenile charge.
Talavera says Desert Hills has helped. The girl has been there 4 months. Talavera says her treatment is supposed to last 6 months to a year.
That has actually changed in the last couple of days. They sent me an email on Friday and want me to go get her on the 23rd. And I'm thinking that has something to do with all of this.
Last week, CYFD announced plans to shut down Desert Hills, citing safety concerns. CYFD determined the facility was repeatedly failing to report serious incidents. KOB exposed some of those incidents late last year. Desert Hills has 90 days to accept or appeal the closure. In the meantime, Talavera is questioning if her daughter is really ready to come home.
I've asked that question of the admin and her therapist, and they both believe that she needs a little bit more time.
CYFD tells us every child in Desert Hills custody will be reviewed to see where they should be placed if the closure goes through. We have not heard back from Desert Hills today. Back to you.
The treatment facility on Albuquerque's west side may remain open after all, and that's despite getting orders to shut down. We found out last year there were dozens of assault and battery calls at Desert Hills, and new reports filed show that pattern of abuse is still there. Megan Abundis went through pages of documents showing Desert Hills staff failed to report some really serious incidents, Megan.
That's right. Today, Desert Hills CEO told me they reached an agreement so the facility won't be shut down. But CYFD said they continue to not follow the rules on how they run the group home. CYFD says they had to serve a cease and desist to protect kids and staff.
Probably the most significant need kids in our communities.
Those kids go to Desert Hills. It provides treatment to nearly 100 kids. They could struggle with emotional, behavioral, or drug abuse problems. But emergency sanctioned documents show that Desert Hills staff failed to report serious incidents within 24 hours. The state said there were allegations of sexual abuse and unsafe conditions. Youth had access to ligatures and sharp objects. Multiple incidents of self-harm, cutting, and climbing onto the Desert Hills roof were cited. However, documents show it was not considered to be a serious incident by Desert Hills staff due to the staff intervening, and therefore it wasn't reported.
For a residential treatment center to be therapeutic, it has to be safe.
Other state reports showed clients attacked staff, one incident resulting in a fracture of the staff's neck area, which required surgery. Despite all of this, Desert Hills released a statement Sunday saying after meeting with CYFD reps, the termination would cease and Desert Hills would be allowed to treat at-risk youth with a temporary certification. It reads in part, "We have taken the actions of CYFD very seriously and have recommitted ourselves to evaluating all the systems and processes we have in place, vowing to improve those areas in a transparent manner with CYFD." CYFD told me not so fast. Nothing has been finalized quite yet. Coming up after the game, we dive more into what sexual abuse incidents were being looked into at this teen home. Megan Abundis, KOB Eyewitness News 4.
After years of allegations and investigations, more problems for an Albuquerque youth home tonight. A woman is filing a lawsuit after she says her 7-year-old grandson was sexually assaulted at Desert Hills. This is not the first time we've reported on the concerns of parents and guardians.
They're just a number in there. They're not really being treated.
That troubled treatment facility has been accused of failing to report serious incidents to CYFD. The state wanted it shut down last year after reports of sexual abuse and unsafe conditions. But so far, Desert Hills is still open.
And right now, Desert Hills has an agreement with CYFD to stay open through April 1st.
Center officials say they would be reporting health and safety changes to our state, but it's cases like this one that continue to keep that facility's future up in the air.
Our Megan Abundis looked into the latest claims of abuse. Megan.
Diana Peterlin alleges her grandson was sexually abused by the older kids at the Desert Hills Treatment Center 2 years ago. The boy had been taken from his mother and placed in Desert Hills custody. We spoke to Peterlin's attorney, who says her grandson is suffering severe trauma. Desert Hills has been around for more than 2 decades. It's meant to help kids ages 5 to 18. It's also been under investigation for the past 2 years over alleged assault and battery involving kids and staff. A new lawsuit claims 2 years ago, JP, a 7-year-old boy at the time, underwent a medical evaluation for sexual abuse. That's after he reported sexual abuse by other children at Desert Hills, although it's unclear what his medical records revealed. The lawsuit claims after the young boy had been medically evaluated at the hospital, doctors recommend that he not come back to Desert Hills. The attorney on the case said the 7-year-old was released from the hospital, placed in an emergency foster home for 48 hours before being returned right back to Desert Hills. His grandmother is suing not only Desert Hills, but CYFD and Acadia Healthcare, who helps oversee the facility, claiming they all did not take appropriate steps to keep the boy safe. This lawsuit falls in the midst of the facility just getting back their second temporary certification from CYFD, lasting through April 1st. In January, the Desert Hills CEO said they would make changes regarding the health and safety for kids. However, if they are not compliant with the new changes, there will be a termination within a 90-day transition period. CYFD, Desert Hills, nor Acadia responded to my questions before airtime.
There's really nowhere to go from here. I'm worried for these kids. I was hoping that they would work together to resolve those issues so that this facility could remain open for these kids.
But it's too late. A troubled youth treatment center will soon shut down. This comes after years of investigation into misconduct and accusations of sexual abuse at Desert Hills. The latest came just last week in the form of a lawsuit claiming a 7-year-old boy was sexually abused by older kids at the facility. Our Megan Abundis brings us an interview tonight you'll only hear on 4. And Megan, this is after the center was given recently yet another chance.
Desert Hills was granted another temporary certification just last month with a promise to make significant changes to keep kids safe. But now Desert Hills officials agree with CYFD that they can no longer treat children. So April 1st, the center will shut down. But parents whose kids are treated there are worried. One who doesn't want to be identified told me she just doesn't know where to turn now. Desert Hills has treated extreme at-risk children, ages 5 to 18, for years, even amid serious allegations of abuse and neglect against the center.
Everybody agrees that this facility is no longer the safe, appropriate place for kids.
So the doors will close for good April 1st. Many parents whose children are inside those walls are worried.
I had gone through many options in Albuquerque and outside of Albuquerque to try to get help. And all fingers pointed to Desert Hills.
This concerned mom is aware of the issues Desert Hills faces. Her kid has been in their care for a year, but doesn't feel he's getting enough.
I'm frustrated, very frustrated. My question is, what now? There are no resources here, none.
CYFD officials say there are other residential treatment centers in the state, and while acknowledging that there are some wait lists, they say they'll place the kids somewhere safe. Desert Hills CEO said, "We will work diligently with CYFD and the Independent Monitor to transition youth in our care to other clinically appropriate programs."
We want to make sure everybody gets as close to home the best treatment they can get.
Those involved say there are about 60 children left inside, and it's time to start making plans.
We want to make sure that they are receiving the proper care.
In the meantime, CYFD has added extra support staff at Desert Hills to help care for those children. CYFD tells us Desert Hills tried to make changes in the past few weeks, adding fences, repairing the air duct system, but it wasn't enough. More than 100 employees will lose their jobs. However, CYFD says it has 400 job openings. It's unclear what will happen with the building. Back to you, Steve.
Child after child who don't know each other have told us that there were fights that were allowed by the staff members. There were fights that were encouraged by the staff members. And there are kids that have described it as a fight club inside the residential treatment center there at Desert Hills.
We've learned of a flurry of new lawsuits just filed claiming physical, sexual, and emotional abuse against children. The plaintiffs claim it all happened in places where those children are supposed to get help. Our Megan Abundis has been following the troubled events surrounding the closure of Desert Hills Youth Treatment Facility here in Albuquerque. And Megan, these accusations are shocking.
Steve, we've been following this case for a number of months into the investigation into Desert Hills, their certification question, and then not one but two chances to make things safer for kids. But now it's being forced to shut down, and the doors close for good next week. Now, these 7 lawsuits claim Desert Hills and its parent company, Acadia Healthcare, failed to protect its very young clients in a number of ways, from fight clubs to sexting between a children and staff member.
We currently have filed 7 lawsuits in the last week. We anticipate filing up to 10 or 11 more in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
They say so many New Mexican kids have been abused in this facility. Many of the lawsuits name Acadia Healthcare, Desert Hills, and Family Works, alleging serious abuse of kids 6 to 18 years old who lived inside the treatment facility, a place to get mental and behavioral help. The bottom line is they are calling it a failure of the for-profit company Acadia Healthcare.
It is a problem of understaffing. It is a problem of taking oftentimes children that they have no business taking.
The lawsuits allege young girls beaten up, sex between staff and teens, and sex between the kids themselves, some who were known to be HIV positive. One lawsuit alleges inappropriate conduct between a nurse at the facility facility, 54-year-old Archie Horner, and a 14-year-old former resident. Attorneys say the Facebook messages from 3 weeks ago are from Horner. The messages describe when he first started to notice the girl. He said, "The first time I saw you, especially in the turtle suit." A turtle suit is also known as an anti-suicide vest. We know the young girl suffered from a multitude of issues. She said, "I hated that thing. It made me look weird." And Horner said, "No, I just wanted it to fall off." The messages asked her to describe parts of her body and said, "That's okay, be nervous, but let me hold you close. Let me run my hand through your hair. Let me touch your skin. Take your fingers and touch yourself." Often messaging, "Did you erase everything?"
And they exploits it. Why? So for his sexual gratification.
They are suing not only for compensation for the children, but demanding the healthcare corporation pay up.
When they take New Mexicans' money, when they take hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars in Medicaid, that the taxpayers in New Mexico are offering them to care for our most vulnerable children, do it right.
We've reached out to Desert Hills, Acadia Healthcare, and Archie Horner. Our calls were not returned. CYFD has told us that there are about a dozen kids left inside Desert Hills, and they will close the teen treatment center Monday. Steve.